What about the
facts right?
what about the criticism that video is Americans, or that it's representing drunken aberrations in this society, or that it's not in any way representative of attitudes in this society, or that you could go to an American city and create a similar type of narrative? What you've heard all these criticisms?
Yeah, I heard
how do you
that
respond?
From Gershom Gorenberg, from Ron Kempais, from Jeffrey Goldberg, the peddlers of the dream castle Israel, where the good Israel will eventually come to the fore and save Israel from itself. And they just need to be here. I was living here for months, and just a few months after I filmed that video, a Palestinian kid was walking right down this street, right here. His name was Hussam Rouidi, and he was stabbed to death by two Beitar Jerusalem fans, stabbed in the neck. He walked into stores begging for help, and he bled to death in the street. Nobody helped him. And this keeps happening over and over. Right here, there was what they call a lynching right down the street in Zion Square. It was heavily reported, and then finally, the New York Times reported on this phenomenon of basically racial mob violence in this area. The attack on this other kid, I think his name was Jamal Julani, was sparked when a young Jewish girl claimed that he had hit on her. It's like 1940s Alabama out here, and so he was mobbed by a gang of 30 youths, and they beat him into a coma. Ynet came down here and did Feeling the Hate in Jerusalem last year. They just brought one of the reporters down and interviewed these kids about all their racist beliefs. Unfortunately, it's like we're always unfortunately vindicated. And these assholes who were saying that my video reflected nothing about Zionism really need to do a mea culpa and then quit their jobs and go on Princess Cruise. You can support Sherry Arison, but just go on a fucking cruise and never come back, because you have no credibility, and what you write and your attempts to whitewash what's happening here is dangerous for everyone living in this land. And I never want to hear from clowns again. I'm very angry about their attempt to whitewash what I showed.
Well, and Max, just a last point. Why do you say that what they write is dangerous to the people living in this land?
It's dangerous to whitewash the level of extremism and racism that's consuming Israeli society, and not tell Americans about it while we're bankrolling this whole project. All it does is reinforce the status quo, which has brought people like Naftali Bennett to power and gotten this place to where it is. It's obviously not so great for Israelis, although many of them seem to want, naked colonialism and naked apartheid, but it's also, terrible for Palestinians who have to face the direct consequences on the other side. And meanwhile, you have this coterie of liberal Zionist writers who live in DC and New York who don't have to deal with the direct consequences. All they want is Dream Castle Israel to help them confirm their Jewish identity, which is incredibly evanescent and fraught with insecurity.
But excuse me, that goes for right-wing Zionists too, doesn't it? Writing about this place.
Oh yeah, well Gil Troy will just he'll do whitewashing, but it's just kind of guys like that will whitewash what's happening here, but they're not as good at it, and they inadvertently belch out little racist glitches. So it's really the liberal Zionists who wanted to ignore what was happening here in this neighborhood. And look at where I'm standing right now. This is a bumper sticker for Meir Kahana. It says Kahana was right here. And this is a youth center. These are Jewish Israeli youth. We got to keep the microphone. These are Jewish Israeli youth mostly who live here. They're troubled. They're social workers who come in here, and many of them have run away from home in the settlements where they were abused, and they hang out over here down in what's known as Crack Square. And they literally do crack and whatever drugs they can get their hands on and get drunk. And when I would be down here, there'd be 13-year-old kids just falling face down on the ground. And talking to these kids, they tell me that they're brutalized by the police out here. Many of them speak to me in an American accent. They come from the suburbs in the U.S. and they wish they were back there.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of like spiritual and psychological suffering that I witnessed while I was living here. And actually, my Feeling the Hate video started in Crack Square, just doing some interviews, and then I was led back into that warren of bars behind there where I met these American kids from Long Island who were experiencing, the Zionist dream.
Yeah.
And this is ignored. I mean, you've never seen any reporting in the U.S. on this place. Here's a logo for the Jewish Defense League and Kahana Chai.
Right.
Kach, which is a banned terrorist organization. And that's, these kids have been raised on hate and racism. And nationalism. They know nothing else, and they're out here just destroying themselves. It's very iconic, I think.
Thanks, Max.